box that comes out. Everything looks real good there. There's nothing that's in the way. There's no trees other than this Japanese maple that's there, but there's nothing like right here in the middle. And there's nothing around here that's going to be rooting into that tank. Now, if they had a whole bunch of trees and stuff right around here on it, they would be getting roots. So you want to be about 10 feet clear if you can. And so that's, I've measured it's 15 feet to the house from the beginning side of this tank. And then, so the back side of that drawing brings it back. So off of that, they're going to come off this way underneath here. This was added after. No big deal unless they had to do that, or they had to change all that. They've already done that. And what they changed was the pipe between the house and the inlet.
Okay.
Okay? Nothing in that form says anything about addressing the outlet. It was an inlet bathroom. And the inlet is on the ends, where the receiving side of the water
and
goes.
Is the bathful underground or in the crawl space?
It's in the actual container box.
Ah,
so that's a concrete box, and inside the concrete box, as the water comes in, it's coming in a round pipe, and then you put a baffle correctly put on the end of that is like a cap, but it's a T, so it has two sides. The top side stays open, so when we pull that off, if we open that manhole, I dig around, there's manhole, we'd hook it and drag it out, and you're looking right in the tank. You can see right down in the top of that T where it's dripping the water, and that keeps, like I was saying, stuff from backing up in that pipe. If you just brought a pipe straight out into the tank, and they do that. So when we go in and clean them, that's where you find out if somebody did what they were supposed to when they put the box in to begin with. And so like when you go in and clean it out, if they didn't put one, which happens, or if somebody came along after and broke it, that's happened.
Trees or
roots, I haven't had a lot. You'll see them coming through the tank, and we trim those back and kind of, but generally speaking, it's somebody hasn't done something right, because if they did it correctly when they put it in, it should have had an inlet and a baffle set up on it already. So we're going in and cleaning it. It should be there falling off in the tank.
Do you think some people try to do it themselves and that's what happens?
That, or it got clogged up and somebody came out and said, oh, it's clogged up in there. We need to get in here. Let's just saw it off. I mean, you don't really know what... It might get the end result right then, but they don't understand when the tank raises back up. Or they do understand, and they're just dirty like that, where they're trying to get more repeat. So to do it correctly, so you only have to have it done 3 to 4 years, controls it to where that's the advised amount, so that as a customer, you're not going to be shocked. Meaning, you're not going to have it back up like what happened, and it's not going to be a big deal. So this here, what I look at is, for your buyer, one, we got a good system, and it's been maintained and has the baffle, so that's good.
Okay.
And you've already had it cleaned out, so that's going to cover them for at least 3 to 4 years right there. And then, I mean, I'm not saying they can't go further. It's just after that 3 to 4 year period, we say that's where the window is that you should do it. I've seen people go much longer, but it just depends on how many people are in the house.
Yeah, there won't be too many.
How efficient are they? But at the end of the day, all they're looking at is a pump truck come back right here and pump it from right here. That's no problem at all. It's a gravel driveway. Truck's weight's not going to disturb it.
Okay.
So it's real easy to maintain this tank. Very easy.
So as far as weight, like you're saying, or even trees, this area we got to protect.
I would just say don't do anything else to this area.
Okay. Anywhere else?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't put any trees in here. I wouldn't put anything that's going to cause roots. And I would stay clean, and I'll mark this. I'll draw like a line.
Okay.
From right here, and that pipe right here to there is a pipe underground. So if they go wrecking around here with
That's true.
landscapers or anything else, like if they said, I want this bush out, and you get somebody that just backs up the ATV.
Not the Japanese maple.
Well, but if somebody said they wanted it and they grabbed it up and tried to pull it out per se, but then they could, inadvertently, there could be root system under there and break that pipe. So your buyer would just want to know, between here and there, extreme caution.
Okay.
Because that's where your pipe is for basically your...
And this is a good spot because I don't
Perfect
think she's
spot.
would want to do something like right here anyway.
And then the way I'm looking to see how the water... All right, so then the next question is, if this thing fails, what's going to happen? So if it fails in this case, water's just going to go that way. You're going to call it, it's not going up under the house. And this is a gravity flow system. I'll put all this in the letter. You can clearly see that the slope and the contour of the land is moving in that direction. So they came in when they did their trenches, which are dug to depth underneath there, and then I don't know what kind of system they use, but there's at least some gravel. So underneath, there's troughs that are cut, and so the water is always going to go to that low point and run out. So as the water comes out of the house, goes into the tank, solids float up, and that liquid layer comes out. The outlet baffle, the outlet side is just water, but it's water that's been in the septic.
Other stuff, yeah.
So to filter it back out, you got to get it back into the dirt, and then it'll dirt back. So 10 to 15 feet from a garden, I wouldn't garden right here. I'd garden over there.
Yep.
But I wouldn't garden right in here, because once you start doing that, you've got water under the ground that's already there. It'll draw it up. So like they say, keep at least 10, 15 feet away from your septic tank. So anything that they gardened, if they wanted to do that way out in the sun over there, is fine. But just from here, and as we run kind of, think like 4 or 5 of those little, each one of those lines that he drew or whoever sketched, he's trying to tell you they're going with the contour of the land, and they're dropping down each time. So as that one trough fills up, it hits like a overflow, goes into the next one, and then it goes up and goes into the next one. So it just runs itself multiple times before it gets down, and that helps it leach on out into the soil. So when people have a bad system, if they have a system that's causing it to come back, or where it needs to be somewhat pumped, that adds like an additional type of system. So there's like a conventional, and then there's modified conventional. There's when you start pumping it, meaning if this was a hill and we couldn't let gravity work, the liquids would go into another compartment, another chamber. In that chamber, we would use a pump system.
I've heard of that before.
And we would then run a strong, like a PVC line across. Like for instance, if they wanted to add on, this may not be eligible for 5 baths. I think it was a 3 bath that they approved it for, I believe. So if they wanted to add on, it's going to be a 4th bedroom, then they have this system.
Bigger tank.
They have an ability to, I mean, it'd be pretty expensive, I wouldn't say, but they could bring in and utilize some of that area over there potentially if a soil sample was done in, that area. But you kind of already have a functioning system right here. This one's not, the house has been here for a while. There's nothing that I see that says there's any failure on here. And being that they've already had the pumping done and had this valve, that's really, they've done a lot of work on it.
We just wanted to make sure they did it correctly and didn't just pump it and there was something that needed to be corrected.
Yeah, I mean, at this at this point, when they pumped it and they put that baffle in there and filed that away, like that's actually been on record there. If they did that and said that they did it and we took it off and didn't, that would be really bad business on their part. So generally, if somebody's going to go to the trouble to record, hey, we went in and we made this change, record it with TDEC just like you would register of deeds. They're not playing around, because that's tying their name to that. It's the ones that just don't. So that kind of thing, I would just say, tell the customer, it looks like, well, I'll draw it up, but the letter will explain too some of the details. Overall, this system looks great. It's been pumped. It's got a new baffle. If this thing starts filling up, that's when I would take the top off and go in and look. Like if we start having trouble, I don't suggest digging this out right now and pulling it out, especially since it's already been cleaned. My advice would be, if it hadn't been cleaned, to do that, kind of the next step. Since we're just verifying what they did, I'll mark this up, write it up how it is, and then keep this here. And if, like when they move, I would suggest either they leave this stone or come out here and put something like that right on that spot.
Okay.
That way they know. I mean, we can find it.
It's a nice stone.
And it's cut. You cut right over it. It's not going to mess with the mowers or anything.
I was just about to say that. Okay.
Trucks aren't going to be over here. Big trucks that could damage. That's what could break the box. Is you put like a dump truck or put a
very heavy
big dumpster over here, something like that. So there again, this is a nice confined area. If you were to say, what do you want to protect your septic system like? It's actually really good. It's got grass. Grass absorbs water. It's not too hilly, so I feel good about the system. And this
okay.
Did you pull the plug on the water and let it all drain out of the tub and everything?
Yes.
Okay. So I mean,